Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the technical trader at TheTechTrader.com. It's Tuesday night, the 6th of September. These are the charts of the day. Well, the markets had an interesting day today. Let's go to the indices for a minute. You'll see that they were up in the morning, came down sharply, tested, ran up, made new highs, and then consolidated in coils and broke out at the end of the day. Very nice close for the market and a great start to the day. This is the intraday charts on a 5-minute basis, and here's your hourly charts. You can see on the hourly charts, we're coming up to test that double top. After breaking through this declining channel here and retesting it and the moving averages, the market just spiked up to 48.30 on the NDX. The S&P jumped all the way up to 2187, closing it a point off of the high. Right up in this resistance zone. If you see the lines I've drawn across here, this 2187 area is really tough to get through. And if we do that tomorrow, we should test 2194.5. We'll see what happens. Interesting pattern so far. Well, looking at the individual chart patterns, Acacia it turned out to be a monster along with Twilio and some others. This fairly recent IPO back in May traded as low as 27.05, and then today was 100 points above that. Amazing. And you can see the recent exploded move here in the middle of August that took it up to the 124 range, pulled it back. We formed a coil. Today it broke out. Like I said over the weekend, I would not be surprised to see $150 on this very near term. Alphabetically, AREX, interesting pattern forming. Look at this massive inverse head and shoulder pattern. And this is an oil stock that's been down dramatically from the 40s all the way down to under $1, practically bankrupt, at least the way they were treating it. In February, you could have bought the stock at 60 cents. Here it is at $4 nearly today. And more importantly, the inverse head and shoulder pattern has been broken. The volume is picking up dramatically on the upside. Looks to me like a stock that wants to at least get up to 4.75 and may even reach the $6 range where some complete overhead resistance, but I don't see any reason why it can't make it up there. Volume keeps up, especially with 11 days to cover. AXDS swing trade broke out today, continues to look great. For me, it's wave 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this is the 5th wave starting, which could get you up in that 29 to 32 zone at some point. There's 26 days to cover on this one, and this looks like the squeeze is on, folks. Look for this to extend over the next few days. CLCD, game changer breakaway gap on monster volume of 14 million. Nothing like that seen since this company has been public. Big news today. And not only that, but when a stock gaps up, opens at 1950 and then runs up to 24.65, phenomenal move up. 13.17 to the close, 123% on 14 million. Now, usually when you see this kind of breakaway gap, the stock will either back off and consolidate and then come on or just continue to rise. Either way, this looks like a potentially good swing trade. I'm just waiting to see if there's an entry point tomorrow, perhaps. CRNT, well, this low price stock, after breaking out and pulling back to retest, forming a flag, broke out again, tested resistance, backed off one more time, and then came on strong in the last 6 or 7 days in a row. Stock's been up today, culminating with a 2.5 million share day, one of the biggest I've ever seen on it. And it looks to me like it may be headed to at least 3.25, maybe as high as 3.75. CWEI continues to push. Today, another new high at 71.03. Closing at 69.61, up 272 or 4%. 5.7 days to cover. This thing looks like it wants to be a $80 stock, folks. Unbelievable. Nice move. CYBR, I didn't mention it at all today because I didn't see it, but I like the bottoming pattern, the breakout here, the retest there, the move up into, and then a consolidation. Today was a breakout. My target now is 64.5. ERII swing trade. Looks like the coil popped. Nice move today of 72 cents or almost 6%. 647,000 is the second biggest volume traded in the last couple months. Looking like it wants to go. Right now we're looking for a test of 1328.30. And then potentially on an intermediate basis, you can see where this stock could go, perhaps into the high teens, 19 range. With 9.6 days to cover, this could get very interesting. What's very interesting is EXEL. Look at that move today. 5.9 days to cover and breaking out of an ascending coil, an increasing volume. This one looks like it's headed for 14.5, 15 near term. Secondary target 18. LMAT swing trade. And how? What a pop today. 720,000 shares. It doesn't sound like a lot. It's the biggest volume since June of last year. More than a 52-week volume high. Last week it broke out of the flag, then pulled back, and today it exploded. Now my target was right about 21. We hit 21.12 today. My secondary target up top of the channel is going to be about 23. We may get there quickly with 4 days to cover. MBVX, it's a new one I introduced today, and you can see that with the base, the break of the major declining tops line, and today the thrust on the biggest volume ever traded in this stock, it's extremely thin. It popped, and it may very well test 555 tomorrow. And if it breaks through, we could see 6, 6.5, even as high as 6 3/4 or 7 short term wouldn't shock me. Nektar, nice move today. It popped above resistance from the spike high and is now up for 5 days in a row, but it looks like me very slow and steady. And I think the stock's going to make it to 21 and then 23. 8.7 days to cover. New highs in OBV, looking terrific. NVAX, nice bounce off support, triple bottom in here. The stock had a nice day, closing at the high for the day, going away up 48 cents or 7%. 5 million traded today. And as far as I'm concerned, this stock's going to make, it looks like, is going to make a run at the 780, 795 zone. And if it gets through that zone right here, we may have a real winner on our hands. And I'm looking for 9.5, 10 if that's the case. 14 days to cover on Novavax. And it's been consolidating long enough after wave 1 and 2. We should get a big wave 3, maybe even 10. PGNX, well, you can see that this swing trade disappointed and broke support here. Came down for a few days. Tested the 50 and the trend line the way I've redrawn it. Well, guess what happened after hours? They did Valiant and Progenics announced U.S. commercial launch of FDA-approved Relistor tablets. And the stock popped from 6.15 to 7 and backed off, and then came on again at 6.75 after hours, up about 60 cents or about 10%. So we shall see where this goes. But right now, looking at the daily chart, it looks like it's snapping back and maybe retesting this 7.10 zone very quickly. And if it gets through that, we're looking at an $8, $8.25, $9 stock for almost 4 days to cover. Ren is beyond belief, but there it goes again. Up another 85 cents or 4%. 4 million shares traded. It looks to me like a stock that has room to run and may very well see some more upside. Look, this stock's already come from 2 and change to 22 and change. I'm not going to be so bold as to tell you this is a $30, $40 stock, but that's what the top of the chart tells me if this thing wants to go right here. Silica. Well, this swing trade just continues to look good and up again today, and right now testing the high from August the 19th when it hit 42.38. Today's high 42.15. But we get through here, I'm looking at 46 3/4, 7, and then 51.52. Really nice pattern. TRGP. Well, after this was a great swing trade for us March, April, May, but then it went to a 4-month consolidation. Now, after a move that takes the stock from 14 to 45 and triples, I'm not surprised that this happened, but it looks like today it may have popped up through this resistance line, jumping $1.90 or 4.3%, and it may very well start to run in here. Would not be shocked to see mid-channel around 56, 58, and eventually in the high 60s. Of course, Twilio with a 1, 2, 3, 4 has broken out of this. It may be on its way to much higher levels. Wouldn't shock me to see mid to high 80s on it, but before you can get that bold, let's look at 66, 65, 6 as your near-term target. Weibo just keeps on going. After a pullback looking like a top off the channel, it tested support and bounced with volume. I'm not sure how far this can go, but it looks to me like it's going to test at high 50s. And lastly, XIN added today. Perfect timing as it broke out of the flag, and then extended to close up 78 cents or 12.7% on $1.5 million. Closing within a penny of the high for the day, I suspect this is going to extend. Looking at the long-term chart, you can see how this wave, if this is 1, 2, and 3, we may get 4 and 5, but I think we're looking at an 8, 8.5, maybe $9 stock. And folks, that's it for this evening. You guys have a good evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.